One Soul Love here, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you about my twin flame journey and maybe help you with yours. Of course, one of the biggest signs on this path is that you tend to look up all there is to know about your twin flame. And every situation is totally different from the other. But what is so similar to every story that I've come across over my time connecting with other twin flames is that this connection is the most intense connection you could ever come across. And it's a very deep awakening. Realizing that you are not your mind, and you realize there is something more to this than just this person. Okay. So this is for me to be very openly vulnerable with you. For the past 3 years, I've come from a very shy, nervous person that would barely speak to people to this extremely outgoing, confident woman. And it's all because I met my other half of me. When he entered my life 3 years ago, I was in a different place. I was in a totally dark place. He came into my life at the best possible time. It was in April of 2020, and here in South Africa, we were not allowed to leave our house because of lockdown during COVID era. And we weren't allowed to go anywhere. And I happened to go on the internet because there was a lot going on in my life. There was something that I found out and I wanted to investigate it. And I so happened to have enough of what my life was going through. I think it was the beginning stages of my awakening, because there was a lot of things that I started realizing, but I didn't quite understand what it meant. So I've always kept it to myself. And I'm not going to say what the whole aspect was, because I don't want to tell my story and badmouth other people, because that's not who I am. I'm awakened. So I'm going to leave certain parts about this and certain people, but my twin I will talk about. Okay. So I found out something, and I went onto this app purely to find out a certain amount of information that was brought to my attention that had been happening for years on end. And I had enough, as I said. And a lot was going on in that app, and it was not my type of a place to be on. I'm not that kind of a person, and it was very surprising to me. And he appeared just out of the blue one day, and we started chatting, and he was so sweet. It was different to any other person that I've ever come across, and he was going through a lot himself. He's not a South African. He's an American who just made me see things in a totally different light. And still to this day, remembering how beautiful it was to look at him on camera and talk to him shook something in me deeply, especially when he sang. My whole body reacted in a way that was almost like a phenomenon. I was in a state of absolute bliss, absolute joy, and excitement. But I got so nervous, and the mind, which I didn't know that I had an ego. I didn't know any of these things. I questioned his actions. I questioned how he felt about me. I questioned how real this was. I questioned if he even cared about me. And people came forward to tell me this stuff about him, and I questioned him about it. And he was angry with me for doing that back then. And it was his first time of him disappearing, and he wanted to have nothing to do with me. And I remember how much pain I was in and upset. All I wanted to do was just be with him, and the thoughts were just driving me insane. How can this person that changed my whole world around just disappear like that and say, it's not you, it's me? And say so many things that no one has ever said to me, and shake my world upside down. No one has ever made me feel that way. And that's why I became heart soul. He knew things that no one else did. And I didn't have to tell him. I didn't have to express those feelings. He just knew them. Even when we were arguing, when it started, all of it started. He just wanted me to be the best me I could ever be. So I took the plunge and decided to change my life, because he wasn't in my life and I was desperate to have him back. I remember looking at twin flame information, looking at different teachers. Some of them were not so good. Some were like cult-like style stuff, and the others were okay, all right. And then I watched a lot of tarot readings. That's another telltale sign, and I was obsessed with tarot, so totally obsessed with tarot. Until one day I discovered an amazing teacher who put me on the path in the correct way. And I started my journey. And well, before I started my journey, there was a lot of backwards and forwards, and a whole lot of stuff going on with him. And I read The Power of Now because I was watching my teacher's channel, and he was saying The Power of Now is an amazing book. It will start you on your spiritual path. And after reading that book, not even finishing, no, it was the second practicing The Power of Now, only after finishing the practicing of The Power of Now, he returned. He returned back into my life. And then I was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. Like, whoa. And then the mind crept back in because he had hearts in his eyes. He was like wanting to come back. He was back to being the person that I wanted him to be. The mind wanted him to be. But he wasn't quite there because the mind got very triggered, because before, at the very beginning, he would send me videos and talk and express himself. This time around, he wouldn't even get the words out. He would be on camera and he wouldn't even get the words out. And that affected me so much. And I couldn't take it any longer. So I decided to block him and remove him from my Snapchat, which the mind obviously made me regret. Obviously, I deleted all his pictures, I deleted everything so that I can focus on my ascension, because I'd already had a Kundalini awakening in that process of time where I moved from my house that I lived in to a new place, and I had my Kundalini awakening happen. It was crazy. A lot of metaphysical things were going on with me. I saw things that I would never see in my life. I connected with light beings that I never connected with before. I just thought I was just going nuts. And it's a pretty normal process to go through. And I was with I did my Kurt Johnson's course about 2 years ago, and my life is just incredible. And now that I've discovered that I'm not the mind, I am just the observer of it, and I can create whatever it is that I want. Things are changing for me. I'm not so lost in the fact of wanting to be with my twin. I'm not so lost in the idea of him returning. But one thing I can say, and a lot of people will disagree with me on, I know I'm meant to be with him because I am him. And the possibility of it happening are really strong, and I firmly believe that. It's taken me 3 years to not fight the mind, because I don't want to fight the mind. It's not my intention to fight the mind. The mind is finite. The soul is absolutely infinite. And when you discover that you are not the only one sharing a soul, it brings you peace. It brings you absolute peace. And the opportunities to be with them or not, just wait and see. God has a plan for you, and set your sights high. Enjoy the ride. because it will challenge you. This journey will challenge you. It has for me. I still love him. The mind still thinks about him. But I no longer identify myself in that person that I once was. Because I'm not that person. That person is in the past and it no longer exists. But I'm here now to help you grow and be the most authentic version of yourself. Much love. Like and subscribe.